Welcome back. Breaking news. The Supreme Court issuing the ruling on the Trump tariff case, ruling that his emergency tariffs are illegal in a 6-3 decision. We continue our conversation and coverage with Tom Basile joining us on set, the host of America Right Now. Tom, I know you and I have spoken about this in anticipation many times. You're not surprised?
No, not surprised. After the oral argument, and of course, you know, they had lost in the other federal courts as well on this. And after the oral argument, there was clear skepticism, even from a number of the Republican justices, as to whether or not this argument that they were going to be able to use the IEPA law in this way, which had never been done before. That was the risky part about this for the White House all along. Whenever you are trying to do something that has never been done before from a legal standpoint, because you know then you're really going to get these justices are going to be looking at the text of the law, the original intent of the legislation. And of course, you have a conservative court. So textualism, right, originalism and textualism are really what is supposed to drive this court. That's why you nominate Republicans and conservatives to the court. You knew that that's where this was going to go, and there was a lot of skepticism in that oral argument.
We heard some of the, in the dissent, the question was, what happens to the money that was collected?
Yeah.
Where do you think we go from here?
$250 billion.
Yeah.
Not a little bit of money.
Yeah, that's right.
And I hope that the White House has a plan. There seems to be some indication that they, I would think that they would have anticipated. You know, you pray for the best. You know, you hope for the best, but you have to prepare for the worst.
Yes.
And but I don't see how they're not going to be able to use this statute. The tariffs that have already been collected, even the court said, might have to be refunded in some way. There could be other pieces of legislation that are either advanced or are existing under which the administration may try to continue to impose these tariffs, but that's all very, very unclear. What I hope that the president doesn't do is come out and attack the court in very serious terms. I mean, he has used some very hyperbolic language about this case, about how it would be destructive to America, the end of America, terrible for our economy. Well, you know, now he's going to have to figure out what he's going to do. And this is the kind of court that you want, though. You want a court that is going to look at the letter of the law and the original intent of Congress and is going to say, yeah, you know what? This has never been used for tariffs. Why would you do this?
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the end of the story.
Right. All right. We do, speaking of, we're getting a lot of commentary from lawmakers, and I want to bring up what Rand Paul said, Senator Paul. Tom, I really want to get your thoughts on this one. The Supreme Court makes plain what should have been obvious. The power to impose tariffs is very clearly a branch of the power to tax. This is the part that's interesting here. Go ahead, take it away. You found this one.
Well, yeah, this is interesting. He says, in defense of our republic, the Supreme Court struck down using emergency powers to enact taxes, and this is the big point here. This ruling will also prevent a future president such as AOC from using emergency powers to enact socialism. And Tom, you see that there. I think that's sort of on the same point you were mentioning. What are your thoughts on that? You
know, we're supposed to have 3 co-equal branches of government. But since the explosion of power in the executive branch after, you know, in the 20th century, after the New Deal and the Great Society programs, and of course our fascination with our presidents, because our political identity is so wrapped up in who the president is, people sometimes tend to forget about that. We're supposed to have 3 co-equal branches of government. That's what the founders intended. And so you're supposed to have these checks and balances. There's a reason why there are certain powers that are reserved really for each branch of the government. So this is the system working. President may not like it, but this is the system working the way that it should. And if you're a Republican or a conservative, you want this kind of strict constructionist or textualist interpretation to prevent abuse of power and sort of adventurism that we can see, particularly from the executive branch.
Well, exactly. I mean, right now, it may be frustrating. It is